What's up, everybody? Peace and love, gamers and players. Colorwind here with a special edition of Colorwind News. Today I'm going to be giving you a rundown of Summer's Game Fest presentation that just happened yesterday. It is currently June 9th, 8 o'clock in the morning, because I went through the entire presentation and took notes, because I did not watch it live. I was so tired the other day. During the presentation, I passed out. So, I did not see all of it during that time, but I did see some of it, which is why I didn't do like a live reaction or anything like that. Although I tend to not do live reactions for presentations anyway, just because when you do that, you need to be like signed on as like a partner on Twitch or all this stuff to get clearance for it, because they start striking things down on YouTube, and it's a whole process. And I dealt with that about 5 years ago, and I just don't want to deal with it really anymore unless I think I can get away with it. So let's get started. First off, I want to say that, to preface this, I am not a huge fan of Summer Games Fest. I've seen all of them since they've started back in 2020, and none of them have impressed me. They all seem very cheap, and the announcements are very hollow, and the problem is normally the announcements are, hey, this is happening. We're not going to show you really anything about it, but we'll just show something that looks kind of fancy, and then we peace out and don't do anything else. So aside from just knowing that these games exist, we don't really get to know anything about them, and that seems to be very indicative of the showcase in general. I will say this time, it was quite different, because the first three, mostly due to COVID, I believe, the presentation was in person. They had a crowd and a stage, and it looked very much kind of like an E3 presentation, except this is Jeff Keighley, and I don't like Jeff Keighley, and this is kind of the reason why. There were advertisements during the presentation. There was just him needlessly kissing butt for all the developers and publishers that were there at the presentation, showing off their games, and it's a poor substitute for E3 in my opinion. So that was not very different here, and yeah. So aside from the fact that it did feel a bit more like an E3 crowd and an E3 kind of like old school presentation. Not a fan of the format, and I don't think I'm going to be, but this is, I think, the only way he can even get this done, and I think he is very happy to do it this way, and I just don't agree with that. But regardless, here's what was announced. That's what's most important, right? The actual games. The games are what is important. The showcase started off with Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, which is a new Prince of Persia game coming out January 18th, 2024. It is a 2D game. It's got really flashy combat, but it's got kind of like this cheap, kind of like DreamWorks cartoony look that I'm not really a fan of. They had a rap song in the background that just did not fit the action at all. I mean, the setting is in like old school Arabia with the monarchy and all that stuff that was there. It's, you know, like the Sultan and stuff like that, and just no, there's no reason to have like a trap rap song while that kind of setting is being shown off. But the game does look fun for what it's worth. Mortal Kombat 1 was the next, and I think this is one of the main games for why this Summer Games Fest even exists. I'll elaborate on that in a little bit, but Mortal Kombat 1, they showed off a trailer that showed off gameplay and story elements. A lot of was shown here. It seems like Liu Kang is recruiting fighters for something, and that's not really explained yet. And it seems like there's different characters that have different beefs with each other. Kenshi has a beef for Johnny Cage because he has his old sword. Sub-Zero and Kung Lao seem to have some sort of rivalry. Melina and Katana are still rivals, but this time Melina is the princess, or at least some sort of royalty, and Kitana is like the servant. Sort of like how Kitana and Jade were, if that makes any sense, and if you're familiar with Mortal Kombat lore. More importantly, combos can incorporate cameo fighters, which are like assists that you can call in at any time. And these cameo fighters are in everything. They are part of not just the combos, but air combos, which is a new thing that's being added. Kind of looks like what they used to do with Mortal Kombat Armageddon, where your character just kind of floating up in midair for no real discernible reason. You have the X-Ray / Fatal Blows from Mortal Kombat X and 11 and 9 making a comeback, but the cameo fighters can be implemented in that as well. I don't know if there'll be different X-Ray Fatal Blow moves depending on which combination you pick, but it's a possibility. They're also incorporating the fatalities, which means that there has to be like an infinite amount of fatalities now, right? Because there's just so many combinations that you could have. One tidbit that I thought was interesting in terms of the story is that Scorpion and Sub-Zero, who are both in this game, are now brothers, not rivals in two separate clans. So that's interesting. They showed off the character selection screen, and I was able to discern that there are 24 characters, at least at launch. And even though I think there's more that's been confirmed, I can say, because I did see them on the roster lit up and everything, that absolutely 100% confirmed are Sub-Zero, Kitana, Kenshi, and Liu Kang. And then there was another character select screen, this time for the cameo fighters separately, and there are 16 slots in that screen. And on there I can confirm Kano, Sonya, and Jax. There seems to be 20 stages. Some of the stages seem to have alternate versions of each other. There seems to be some sort of clash thing that I thought was a mechanic, but it turns out it's actually just part of the UI. The characters clash and talk shit to each other, and then they break away, and then you're all of a sudden out of the character select screen and into the stage that you picked, and then it goes into the fight. So it's a really cool effect that they have there. The cameo fighters are being activated with one button. Pressing the button by itself or pressing it with the directions to activate different moves. The cameo fighters are regulated to a meter that replenishes on its own, so that's how you're able to kind of like move in and out within combat with them. The meter system seems to be going back to the 3-part meter system that they had in Mortal Kombat X, as opposed to the split 2-bar system that they had in Mortal Kombat 11. And finally, they talked a little bit about Jean-Claude Van Damme being Johnny Cage. We do know now that he's going to be not just providing his likeness, but also his voice. So yeah, that's everything with Mortal Kombat 1. A lot of info in there. That is not going to be the case for most of these games, though. For example, Path of Exile 2, they showed gameplay trailer. More details about the game will be announced during July 28th. It was less a gameplay trailer and more of a teaser. It looks like Path of Exile, which is not bad because that was a good game, but that was it. It didn't really tell us more. Street Fighter and Exo Primal are having a collaboration. You can play as robot versions of Ryu and Guile in Exo Primal. It'll be released as DLC in fall of 2023. Dead by Daylight is getting Nicolas Cage as a survival player. And they even had Nicolas Cage come on to the stage and to promote it. I don't know why this is happening, but it is. It's going to come out July 25th with PC having early access to it on July 5th. So that's a whole 20 days before. Very interesting. 3 weeks, essentially. Witchfire. We got a gameplay trailer for that. It looks like a Western first-person shooter where you're kind of shooting down like demons and skeletons and various like evil-looking things. The game reminds me a lot of Dark Watch, if you remember that game from the original Xbox and PlayStation 2. Really like that game. Although I doubt this one is going to be as single-player focused, but you never know. You never know. They didn't really talk much about it. Crossfire Sierra Squad is a VR first-person shooter game. They showed off with a live-action trailer with real actors. That's coming out August of 2023. Again, not a whole lot said about it. Then there was a commercial for this computer monitor. I don't know. Remnant 2, third-person shooter. I've heard a little bit about it. It's coming on July 25th. They showed off a gameplay trailer. Not a whole lot of gameplay shown off though, but it's just kind of like, look how cool the action is, and it does look pretty good, but no details. Sonic Superstars. I'm a huge Sonic fan, so this looks really cool. There's going to be multiple characters to be playable in the game. Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy. It's going to be, it appears that it's going to be multiplayer, which is interesting. That'll be the first time in a 2D Sonic game where it's multiplayer. And it's like real multiplayer, because it seems like you're getting at least 2, possibly 4 players playing at the same time, a la new Super Mario Brothers style, except probably worse, because I'm like, how is that going to work? I don't know, but I'm interested in checking it out. It's got a new art style. It's kind of like a classic art style, but in 3D. There's new abilities that Sonic's going to have, like being able to run on walls in the background and run up waterfalls. Seems to have some sort of a tether ability that he can swing around to, and these like faux 3D stages. And it comes out in fall of this year. It looks really good. I'm definitely going to check that game out. I'm a Sonic fan, I have to. But yeah, it looks legitimately good. Honkai Star Rail is going to come out Q4 2023 for PlayStation 5. Looks anime as hell. That's all I could see when that trailer was playing. I was just thinking, anime. Liza P trailer, it still looks very good. Again, no real details given, just, you know, that you can tell that's very Bloodborne inspired. But the one thing that is cool is that we now know that's coming out September 19th. And there's a demo out now. So I'm probably going to check that out and possibly make a video of it. But yeah, the game looks really good. I guess you don't really need details when you can go and just try it out for yourself. So at least they thought of that. Sandland, which is a game with art styles from Akira Toriyama, who's known for the Dragon Ball series. It's a game that's going to be coming to PS4, PS5, PC, Steam, and Xbox Series X and S. And that's all we know about it. Nothing else was told. Like, even from looking at the little bit of gameplay that they did show, other than maybe being some sort of action game, I don't know what this game is. Takes place in the desert, kind of reminds me of Mad Max. Annapurna had, okay, this thing. Annapurna, the publisher, had a showcase teaser on here. So now we're teasing other presentations on presentations. Their presentation is going to be June 29th at 12 p.m. This hurt my head when I saw this. No actual game announcements were made. Just like, hey, come look at our presentation while you're watching this one. Throne and Liberty is a game from NCSoft and Amazon. It looks like fantasy. You're able to turn into enemies. They're going to be having a test for the game relatively soon. Then they had a game called Warhaven that's coming out in 2023, fall of 2023. That looks exactly like Throne and Liberty to me. Down to the fact that you can use enemies, animals to attack enemies, and it's also got a high fantasy setting. Whoever put those two games together really did them dirty, because I thought they were the same game the first time I saw them, and it was only when I rewound the footage back and double checked that I realized these are two different games, man. Party Animals, which is a game that's been in just testing for a long time, is finally going to come out on September 20th on Xbox and Steam. It kind of reminds me of Gang Beasts. That game is fun, so I'm sure this will be fun as well, although it's essentially a copy of that game. Dying Light 2 is getting an update in June, and then something afterwards. They did not go into detail. Crash Team Rumble Season 1 will start on June 20th. Let me tell you about a game that nobody wants. If you're a Crash Bandicoot fan like I am, I know that I never wanted a multiplayer online game. and I have no idea why they're doing this. It kind of reminds me of like a really, really loose combination of like Fall Guys and Power Stone, in that you kind of like beating each other up, but the point isn't to beat each other up. The point is to complete objectives and get points. It's a bad idea. I have no idea why they're doing this, but it's probably because it's Activision and they just want to turn everything into a multiplayer game. Then we got a Samsung Gaming Hub commercial. Jeff Keighley. Then we have what I call the second game to justify this presentation. Alan Wake 2. They are going straight survival horror with this game. The game will have two protagonists this time, not just Alan Wake, but also a new character named Saga, who is an FBI agent with a partner named Alex Casey, and they're investigating murders, specifically more like a religious kind of like sacrificial murders that have been going around the area. You're going to be able to switch between both of them, and the gameplay will basically be like the first game. They showed like an extended gameplay trailer of the game. It was just like raw footage, and aside from it looking a little better and the UI being way better, I will say that the gameplay looks exactly the same. Blast people with your flashlight and then shoot them, to the point that survival horror seems like it's pushing it, because it just kind of looks like a third-person action game to me. But the game will come out October 17th, 2023. I, earlier this year, was playing the first Alan Wake, the remaster, for the first time. And that game, I never finished it because it never really gelled with me. I didn't think it was really all that good. And the fact that the gameplay loop in this sequel looks kind of the same tells me that this is probably going to be a rental for me. But moving on, Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. It looks like an action third-person title. It's going to be coming out during the winter. That's all they said, winter of 2023. Yes, Your Grace Snowfall is an indie game. They showed off a trailer that kind of looks like it's decision making and maybe some action, but I'm not really tell. Again, they didn't give a lot of details. That's coming out in 2024. Toxic Commando is a brand new game from John Carpenter. It's basically a first-person shooter zombie game. Comes out 2024. It's Dead Island 2, except with less of a bright setting. It's even got the same kind of like silly tone. It's just not in sunny LA. It's in a darker area. Great. Baldur's Gate 3. August 31st. It's coming out. The trailer just kind of showcased some of the acting and the story. It was all very disconnected though, so I couldn't really glean anything from it. Spider-Man 2, October 20th. We got a release date, so that's good. Oh, also they talked a little bit about the story. Nothing really with detail. The only real detail I find interesting or like pertinent is that Venom is in the game, but it is not Eddie Brock, who is the original Venom. So this Venom is somebody else, meaning the alien symbiote got to somebody else. It's not Eddie Brock. It's not Osborn. So I don't know who it is. They're not saying, at least not yet. Power World looks like a Pokemon game, but with guns and hella anime. So there's that. Comes out January 2024, and it's going to be early access. Let's see. Black Desert, Land of the Morning Light comes out June 14th for PC and Steam. I believe that's an expansion. I can't remember at the moment. Lord of the Rings Return to Moria is a game that's focused on the dwarves in the Lord of the Rings world. There was a little bit of gameplay shown, but to be perfectly honest with you, I cannot figure out what kind of game it is. Could be an action game. It could be some sort of resource management game. I am not sure. But it's fall 2023, so I hope they give us some details before then, because I can't even tell what type of game this is. Then they had more commercials again for the monitor and the Samsung Gaming Hub. Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis, which is for iOS and Android, got a trailer. There's going to be a beta sign up that you can do right now if you're interested. Ever Crisis, I believe, if I remember correctly, because they sure as hell didn't tell us in the trailer, is a remake of Final Fantasy VII, but for mobile devices. It seems to also incorporate some elements of Crisis Core, because I know for sure that I saw Zack in the trailer. I don't know, man. There's also mentions of like the Genesis character, which is from Crisis Core. I don't know. If it is a remake, then I guess that's kind of cool, but the fact that it's only for mobile really kind of bothers me. It looks fine. It's got sort of like this weird anime chibi-ish kind of look. Look, I've seen worse things in the world, but it's not super hype for me. Banisher's Ghosts of New Eden is a third-person action game that comes out in 2023. Looks kind of cool. They have another character that you can play as. I think it's you and like a ghost character that you play as, and it looks interesting. It looks okay, but at the same time, we didn't get a whole lot of detail. A lot of what I just said right now is kind of inferred from the trailer, without any real concrete evidence, so take that with a grain of salt. Like a Dragon Gaiden, The Man Who Erased His Name, comes out November 9th, 2023. They didn't show a whole lot of gameplay, but it looks like the gameplay is going back to the action brawler kind of style that the earlier Yakuza games are known for, as opposed to the RPG turn-based stuff from the more recent Like a Dragon game. I'm really hyped for this game. I love the Like a Dragon / Yakuza series. I got Like a Dragon Ishin earlier this year, and I haven't finished it, but I want to go back to it. It's one of the games I want to go back to because it was a hell of a lot of fun. Under the Waves is an underwater looking game. It's indie, comes out August 29th. I have no idea. They didn't give any details. Call of Duty Season 4 has a new map, the Vandal map, and that comes out June 14th, which is next week. The Xbox Series X is getting a Porsche 75th Anniversary Limited Edition console. You literally can't even buy them. You have to sign up to try to win one. Right? Sounds like a commercial to me. Faith Farm comes out September 8th on the Switch and PC, and it's kind of like a Animal Crossing style game where you're managing a whole bunch of stuff, including your farm. Marvel Snap is getting some new content. I don't know. The guy who was talking about it was really loud and really hyped. It made me think like maybe he was on something. They had a silly commercial, and it was fun. It was fun. King Arthur Legends Rise is a trailer that was shown, and they showed like mostly just CGI. It comes to iOS, Android, and PC, which is a little interesting. I'm gonna guess that it's some sort of action title, but I don't really actually know. Wayfighter is a title, again, don't know much about, but it's getting early access this summer for PC, PlayStation 4, and PlayStation 5. There's going to be an Unreal Editor for Fortnite. That was a real quick blurb that they showed. Stellar Nexus for Steam is like a 4X kind of game. Not much details given. Space Trash Scavenger looks kind of like a third-person action game with maybe some puzzle elements. That's also coming to Steam. Star Trek Infinite. They had a quick teaser trailer. They said on June 16th you're going to find out more. So it's a teaser for actual information you're going to get later. Go figure. Lisfanga, I believe that's how you pronounce it. Looks like a top-down action game. It almost looks like a Diablo clone, but it actually, from what I understand, isn't quite that, because I don't know if there's any actual RPG elements in it. But the big gimmick with that game is that you can duplicate yourself and pretty much make like your own army of yourself. Looks pretty cool. Comes out PC in 2023 this year. Um, yeah, maybe something to look out for. Not a whole lot of detail once again, but just enough to make me curious. Immortals of Avium. They showed gameplay of this game. This is what I'll say the third game for justifying this presentation. It actually showed actual gameplay, and in all honesty, it kind of looks like Forspoken, which came out earlier this year, and you played as a woman who had all these magic spells. The only difference is that instead of being in third person, it's in first person, and the magic spells look a lot more visually interesting. As a matter of fact, the whole art style of the game in general just looks way more colorful and bright and expressive. Having played Forspoken and enjoyed it, but also I'm aware that it's not a great game, I'm interested in this game, but I'm also hesitant about it just because it's reminding me of a game that ended up not being very good. But I like what it's doing. I like its very cool spell system that it seems to show, and it also has really cool movement where you can kind of like lash onto things and swing around in order to get around the fighting arena. Very cool looking, looks great. I'm probably gonna check that out. Fortnite, its next season starting. It's called Wilds, and it's gonna have a collaboration with Transformers, so you can play as Optimus Prime. Sure, why not? And finally, the last game that they showed off, that was their big reveal, was Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So this is the second game in the remake trilogy. They showed a lot of gameplay. It looks basically like Final Fantasy Remake, except now the world looks big and expansive because we're out of Midgar and are now walking around the planet. It seems like it's recreating all the way up to maybe like towards the end of the first disc, but it doesn't seem like it's getting at the very end, to the point where the part where everyone knows. I won't spoil it here, even though I think everyone knows, but just because it's a story spoiler for this game in this series, I won't say what it is, even though you know what I'm talking about. We got a release window of early 2024. The combat in there was showing off. It looks great. You get to fight with Barret and Red 13 and Yuffie, as well as, before what you had with Cloud, Aerith, and Tifa. It looks fantastic. I still need to finish that game. That's probably a game I need to get back to the stream. I even have the PlayStation 5 version access to me now. It looks fantastic. It looks great. It doesn't look that different than Remake, but then again, it doesn't need to. So, definitely looking forward to that and see if I can be picking that up in early 2024. And that was the conference. That last reveal was probably the fourth game that justified this whole presentation. And the reason why I keep saying that, and this is the point I want to make about this, is all of this were trailers that could just have been released on their own. Especially considering that a lot of them did not even give a lot of details about the games that they were announcing. And this is a continuing problem with Summer Games Fest. They keep on announcing these games and then telling you nothing about them, which means I have no reason to be excited about them. Maybe some people will be excited about the visuals or the way the game looks or whatever, but usually not a lot of these games even have that going for it. So very disappointing in that regard, but the cool things were the 3 games, possibly 4 with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, where they showed off, exactly what the gameplay and everything was going to be, and they took more of a deep dive. That was Alan Wake 2, that was Immortals of Avium, and then in the very beginning, Mortal Kombat 1. That's definitely my game of the presentation, Mortal Kombat 1. Even Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which I'm really excited about, they didn't spend enough time on it for me to get really hyped for it. So, overall, while I say that this is the best Summer Game Fest presentation we've had so far, it's also kind of confirmation of why I don't like it, and it's because of all the ads that we had, the fact that it seems like they want to just be able to announce all these things without anything being given any time of day to actually explain what they are. They're all puff piece trailers, and there's just a lot of brown nosing. At least when you had E3 and it was the companies themselves giving these presentations, it was like, well, this might be a giant advertisement, but at least they're trying to sell me on it. And it's like, okay, come on Nintendo, your presentation or whatever, sell me on what you're going to be putting out this year. This feels more like, hey, you should be excited about this because Jeff is, and Jeff kissed all the asses of all these companies in order to get them. You know, it feels like a jerk-off ceremony for all these companies, which also is what the Game Awards feels like, which is why I don't like that either. So, and what's even more so is that because, again, these trailers don't give a lot of details, there's a lot less things to get excited for. And it feels like if this were E3 instead, these games either would not have gotten stage time, or they would have had to give some sort of gameplay demonstration or shown more gameplay in their trailers and given more context to it. But with what this is right now, only 3-4 games got that. Mortal Kombat 1, Immortals of Avium, Alan Wake 2, and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So that was Summer Game Fest 2023 this year. Overall, better than the other ones, but still not great. Definitely a poor substitute for E3. And I just wish E3 would come back, because this was like a C+, maybe a B-. It's not awful, but not really liking it. So thank you very much for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed my rundown of the presentation, as well as at the end pretty much a review and overview. If you like what you saw, please like the video, subscribe to my channel, and click the notification bell so you're alerted to it whenever I release new videos. Leave a comment down in the comment section. Let me know what you thought of Summer Games Fest, and share this video on social media. Peace and love, gamers and players. Colorwind out.